Was Juana, Queen of Spain, really mad, or was she misunderstood or manipulated? Let's briefly go over her background story, the whys and the whats. Then I'm going to give you my honest opinion. Hey, historical Jolidda here. I am so glad you joined me. Please join me for a cup of coffee. I am a lover of history. I would love to bring history back alive. I am also an English, Spanish, ESL, and history teacher, and I'm so glad you joined me. Anyway, so before we decide if Queen Juana was crazy or not, let's briefly check out her life story. So Queen Juana was born in Toledo, Spain in 1479. She was the third child to Queen Isabel of Castile and King Ferdinand of Aragon. She received an excellent education along with her other siblings. She learned politics, law, music, and a bunch of languages. She was also known to be beautiful as well, but slightly moody and preferred her alone time. Like typical princesses, she was required to form a marital alliance to further her parents' interest. Her chosen husband was Philip of Habsburg, known as Philip the Handsome. Anyway, she travels to Flanders and she meets her future husband. They both fall madly in love and they consummate their marriage right on the spot. They end up having 6 children together, and after a few decent years of marriage, she unwillingly becomes the heiress to the throne of Spain after her elder brother, elder sister, and her nephew and niece pass away. So her and Philip travel to Spain. Once they reach there, Philip is not too happy with this new environment. He finds Spain boring, strict, a little bit overbearing, and he doesn't like the idea of playing that he's going to be king consort of Spain. So he decides to go back to Flanders. He abandons his pregnant wife, and of course Juana is not too happy and she throws tantrums. After 2 years living in Castile, her parents reluctantly let her go back to Flanders. Once she reaches Flanders, she is coldly received by her husband, her kids, and the whole Flemish court. She later finds out that her husband had a live-in girlfriend, and we all know how that went out. Later on, her mother passes away and she becomes Queen Juana of Castile. Her and her husband take a ship all the way down to Spain, and once they reach Spain, that's where the problems escalate. So Philip does everything in his power to sabotage her right to the throne by locking her in her rooms and spreading rumors that she was mentally insane. Her and her father, King Ferdinand, who was no better than Philip, they meet together so they can do everything in their power to just get rid of Juana. A few weeks later, King Philip dies of typhoid fever. Queen Juana is, of course, grieving. She did love her husband once upon a time. She puts his dead body in a coffin and she decides to walk a few hundred miles along with her ladies in waiting on foot from the northern part of Spain all the way to Granada. However, she does not reach Granada. King Ferdinand stops her along the way. He imprisons her and her newborn daughter along with her ladies in waiting in the convent of Tordesillas. And that's where she is trapped for the next 50 years of her life. Once Ferdinand dies, her son, Charles I, takes over the throne of Castile and Aragon. However, he ends up being worse than her husband and father put together. He takes away her jewels, her clothes, anything worth value, and gives it to his sisters. He also takes away her ladies in waiting as well as her daughter. Poor Juana dies at the age of 75 years old, all alone in this world, without a chance to prove herself. If you're wanting to know a more in-depth history of Queen Juana of Spain, I'd recommend 2 books. The Scroll of Seduction by Gioconda and The Last Queen by C.W. Gortner. They are linked in the description down below. So, why was she considered mad? According to many, she went on hunger and sleep strikes. She was openly jealous of her husband's infidelity. She also hired witch doctors to create love potions. And on top of that, many claimed that once her husband passed away, she would kiss his dead body's feet and not even allow nuns near her husband's body out of jealousy. But what made her really crazy? What made her crazy was, first of all, when she was young, her mother would put a rope on her wrist because her mom thought Juana was not religious enough. And being the daughter of Queen Isabel of Castile, if you were not praying or fasting, you were considered a heretic. Also, Philip was not only openly unfaithful, but he did not give her enough money to live, corresponding her station as future empress and queen. She never had enough money to feed herself, to buy a decent pair of clothes. She never had enough money to pay her servants. And on top of that, King Philip would take away her kids and give her kids to his sister. Not a very nice guy, right? Then, on top of that, her own father, instead of being the caring father, her own father spreads rumors about her mental insane. So her father locks her up in Tordesillas and doesn't let her even talk to anybody outside. Now that I listed the whys and the whats and gave you her background story, this is my honest opinion. I would have to say Juana was not crazy. I would have to say she was the most unlucky person in the world, despite being beautiful and intelligent with a lot of money. So this is what the background story is to what supposedly made her mad. So in terms of hunger and sleep strikes, she did that as a weapon and a form of survival. That way the men in her life would not, harm her anymore. Also, in terms of witch doctors, yeah, that was a sign of codependency and love. It may be slightly eccentric, but she did that because she needed to survive somehow. Also, in terms of walking her dead husband's corpse all the way for a few hundred miles, I would have to say the reason why she did that is because she wanted to avoid any future marriage. And being married to Philip the Handsome, would you want to get married again? I don't think so. And she possibly did that because she was probably reflecting, maybe processing that she's going to be queen now and she has to gather her thoughts. That was another possibility. And also, she was not very treated well by the men in her life, even her own mother. Therefore, I would have to say, Juana was really mad. How did she manage to educate her daughter, Catalina, who became Queen Consort of Portugal? How did she make her into such a stable, intelligent ruler? Queen Catalina could have been mentally unstable, but she was not. So if you're wanting to know more who she reminds you of, I would have to say she reminds me of Britney Spears, the famous pop star who had everything going for her. Sadly, the people in her life made her mentally ill. Fortunately, she managed to gain some independence, and there is a happy ending for her. Sadly for Juana, she did not live the happy ending she deserved. Luckily, she is receiving the justice she did not have when she was alive. Now you can decide for yourself if she was crazy or not. Please be sure to comment below. Stay tuned for the next video. If you found this helpful, let me know and give it a like.